The FCC just approving that long simmering merger between Paramount and Skydance, a media company. Now, remember the context of this. This is a deal getting the green light just weeks after Paramount agreed to settle with the Trump administration for $16 million, and just days after Paramount fired Stephen Colbert. Now, they said it wasn't linked to this, but there has been some concern around that. The White House basically had the final say, the Trump administration, on whether this merger got approved, with critics suggesting the lawsuit settlement may have played a part in that. I want to bring in NBC's Brian Chung. Super interesting here. So let me take this in a couple of buckets. Bucket one, this was not unexpected, but give us the nuts and bolts of what this means for the companies, Paramount and Skydance here. Then we'll take the politics separately.
Yeah, well, I mean, first, it means that this long consummated marriage between these two companies that have been kind of suspended in this regulatory question of whether or not the FCC was going to give them their blessing is now answered. The FCC says, hey, it's all right, and you guys can merge. So, again, these properties will now be together under the same umbrella. This is, again, a company, Paramount, that has been looking for a buyer for quite some time, and they found that in Skydance. So, again, this is the final step, and this deal is now going to be done. Now, when it comes to the way that this is going to be structured, what's interesting about the FCC release that we just received a few minutes ago is that there are some outlined details by which the government wants them to structure their company as a condition for getting this approval. Like, for example, having an ombudsman that's going to have to report to the president of New Paramount to evaluate complaints of bias. And then there's also a commitment to no DEI programs that Paramount will be implementing on their employees going forward. So, again, these are conditions for getting this done. And I want to point out just how unusual the beginning of this statement from the FCC is. The first sentence from Chairman Carr says, Americans no longer trust the legacy national news media to report fully, accurately, and fairly. Again, you can see the kind of political undertones that are part of this release.
Well, that's exactly it, Brian. I would go so far as to call it an overtone here, because later in the statement from Chairman Carr, he says Skydance will adopt measures that can, I'm quoting here, root out the bias that has undermined trust in the national news media, saying that these commitments that you're talking about, these conditions, would let CBS, they say, operate in the public interest and focus on fair, unbiased, and fact-based coverage here. It is a remarkable moment to see an administration asserting itself so explicitly into sort of this private business situation.
Yeah, well, especially considering how we got here. As you point out, there were kind of a number of ducks that essentially Paramount got in a row before the FCC ended up doing this, like just last week canceling the Colbert Show with the comedian taking a number of barbs at the shooting a number of barbs at the president. And then they canceled the show, although they said that was for a purely financial reason. And then prior to that, there was, of course, the $18 million settlement between Paramount and President Trump over the 60 Minutes cut of that Kamala Harris interview. It was $16 million, by the way. And then, of course, actually just last night, there was that South Park episode, which took a number of shots at the president. You do wonder if that entered the kind of conversation as well. But again, the FCC giving this transaction its blessing, so it seems like they don't have to worry about that anymore.
Of course, South Park mocking the Paramount lawsuit, the administration,
with many jokes that I can't say here.
Oh, we would not even be, I think, allowed to show them. Right. But one question, Ryan. What happens if these, quote-unquote, conditions are not met? In other words, the green light for the merger is contingent upon, this list of things. What happens if the merger goes through and then the Trump administration 2 years from now takes exception, let's say, to something that Paramount or Skydance does? What happens? Yeah,
I mean, presumably the FCC could try to challenge the company. Again, the deal is going to go through. They're going to merge, but I guess there could be some sort of review, and maybe they can hit them with some sort of punitive charges or try to take them to court. But again, it's very much unclear. I think that it was very much what they did leading up to this that's more impactful than, say, how closely they abide to this this agreement, if you will, going forward. But again, we'll have to see.
Brian Chung, again, news coming into us in literally the last maybe 14 minutes or so about this merger and its approval. So, Brian, thank you very much for scrambling for us on that one. Appreciate it.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.